We're living in an evil world, man. You know, it's something that is more of a macro, uh, a macro viewpoint. That this world is evil, you know. Of course, everybody likes to justify and say, well, it's just sex, or well, it's just this, or it's just that. Nah, man, you gotta have a perspective, you know. You gotta have a perspective of, first of all, consequences. Again, I don't need to get into statistics or anything like that. That's all there, right? I mean, just Google Jordan Peterson, talking about, the consequences of sex. If Jordan Peterson knows, that shit's real, man, because he studies statistics. There's consequences for sex, but it's not even just sex. It's the whole system. It's the system behind it, When you really figure it out, because it doesn't come to you right away. People say, "Oh, I took the red pill." Well, maybe you started your journey towards the red pill, but you haven't come to any realization yet. It's almost like it's a puzzle, a big jigsaw puzzle. That we take one piece and we put it here, and another piece we put it here. We try to figure it out. Do these pieces fit? Does this fit? Does this fit? And eventually, when you fit all the pieces together after a long time of trying and failing and figuring it out and testing, and after a long time of that, you start to see the picture. You start to see the bigger picture. Oh, this is all connected. Oh, this is a big system. This is systematic. When you see it from a macro viewpoint, you realize the whole thing is evil. It's evil. 500,000 abortions per year, divorce at 50%, people unhappy, STDs are rampant, single mothers are rampant. That's evil. But see, we live in this world that systematizes this evil. And so how does that work out in reality? How does that work out practically? What is a way that the world systematizes evil? Well, it uses feminism. And what does feminism do? Oh, it's okay, girl. You can go have sex. It's okay, girl. That's liberation. You're free. You can do what you want. It's your body, right? That is a systematized evil. It's the same as, I don't know, it's not the same, but it's similar. It's a similar concept to rap music. You listen to rap, oh yeah, I like rap music. I like it. It's cool to listen to, but eventually you start to change. You start to act like this rap music. You start to think that way. You start to get angry. You start to dress different. You start to hang out with different people. And if you're not careful, you can start acting out what you hear in the music. Right? It's a similar thing to that. Little by little. The devil doesn't knock on your door and shout and declare, "Here I am, I'm the devil." No, he likes to, knock nicely and, "Oh, hello, I'm just here to help you. I'm just here to do this. I'm just here to make your life better." Like all these little subtle things, right? Oh, watch this movie, then watch that movie, then like this, like that, and it's gradual. And then eventually the whole world is enslaved. Eventually the whole world is damaged. It started off with porn. They legalized porn in the 1970s. It started off with second wave feminism, which piggybacked on the civil rights movement. They like to hide something evil within something good, right? Yeah, it was good to have the civil rights movement to empower black people. That was good. But what else did they attach to it? Oh, this second wave feminism, which claimed that it's okay that women could go out and be promiscuous, and let's remove the social stigma from that, right? It's all part of that civil rights movement. We want civil rights. Well, it transmorphed from just black rights to now women want rights to be promiscuous. And it's not that they shouldn't. We should all have a free choice. It's the culture that came along with it. Oh, it's good. It's good to be lesbian. It's good to experiment. It's good to be promiscuous, right? That's now some kind of freedom. That's now some kind of liberation. You see, this is the way the systematized evil is carried out in reality. Right? It becomes a culture, and then the culture becomes a system of evil. This world is evil, and when you see it from a macro perspective, your eyes are really open. You know, it's one thing to just say, oh, I take the red pill, I want to go MGTOW. Like, that may be the beginning of your journey. And you might have got to that point where you took the red pill after some negative experiences. And those negative experiences were really just the tip of the iceberg of what's really out there. You know, and don't be fooled by, oh, well, there's so many houses and people are happy, and that's not what, you know, I meet a lot of people who are fooled in that way. Like, oh, it's fine, people are fine, like, yeah, maybe they sleep around a little bit, but they get it together eventually, and blah, blah. There's untold negative crap out there, untold, because we don't talk about it. But the statistics don't lie. 50-60+% marriages don't work out. That's a statistic that doesn't lie. So you could look outside and see all these nice houses, but a lot of them aren't making it. 50% of them aren't making it. Right? So it's a systematic evil, man. And we live in a whole culture that is dominated by that. And there are good people out there. There are kind people, and you know, we in the manosphere unfortunately tend to some extent really generalize and blanket, and I think that there are some decent women out there. I really do. Some. But that doesn't mean female nature isn't female nature. Now, they might be moral to a certain extent. They might have good character to a certain extent. But that doesn't mean female nature isn't female nature. You know, she's still going to be hypergamous. She's still going to go for the guy with the money and the job. Right? Her love is still going to be conditional. It's not going to be unconditional, because that's just female nature. And that's part of how the world got corrupt. And I often wonder why, you know, but people say that, oh, it's biology and blah, blah, blah. And I don't think that really is what it is. I think that it's, you know, I think it's a curse. You know, I think we have to go back to Genesis, the book of Genesis. And God cursed Adam and Eve. He did, actually. People don't realize that, but he cursed Adam and Eve. You know, Adam has to toil. That's a curse. From the sweat of your brow you will toil, or whatever he says, right? And then he kind of cursed the woman as well. He said, you will be subject to your husband. You will cleave to your husband, and you'll, you know, something along those lines. So there's a curse there, you know. And these people who think that the world is all good and everything's great, like, you know, I don't think you're living in reality. You know what I mean? I don't think you really, I don't think you're living in reality. I think that you are living in a manufactured mind state. I think that you're living in a mind state that you manufactured, think positive and be positive and don't allow any negative thought, that kind of thing, and power of positive thinking and all this kind of self-help stuff. And you know what? That's pretty good in some contexts. Like, that's okay in some contexts. I'm not saying don't be positive. I'm not saying don't go to, don't be happy, whatever. But reality is a lot different. Real reality. You have to be selfish to live that kind of life. Because if you aren't selfish, you realize that people are suffering. If you aren't insulated in your mentality, you realize that the world is full of suffering. You realize that the world is under a curse, really. Everything, man. Animals, the earth itself, right? The Bible the Bible is an amazing book that it explains why animals kill each other. Atheists and scientists, whatever, they've always got their little reasons. Oh, it's the circle of life, because the wolves kill off the antelope don't eat too much grass and the grass gets to grow and it's all synergistic, and the bear eats the deer and the deer becomes a tree and it's all part of the blah blah blah. No, go watch National Geographic. These animals are murdering each other. And there's nothing happy and nice and it's all the circle of life. There's nothing about that. That's a curse, man. Death itself is a curse. Humans die. We're not supposed to, man. What are we here for? What's our purpose if we're just gonna die and be nothing? It makes no sense. And this is why people live their life loosely. This is why people don't give a crap and they throw caution into the wind. This is why people aren't moral. This is why people, have this carpe diem kind of attitude. Live life to the fullest because YOLO, right? You only live once, so you might as well go have a bunch of orgies and do whatever, do this, do that. And then you look at these people 10 years down the road and they're all fucked up. They're on drugs or they're got a shitty life because they got some girl pregnant. Now they got to pay child support that they can't afford, and because people don't have a purpose, because people don't have morals, they don't have a moral foundation. And I spent a lot of years before I really got red pilled, before I really came to this realization that the whole world is, I wouldn't say the whole world, because like I said, there's always exceptions. There are good people out there. There are people who are on your level. And I've been surprised because I spent a lot of years, being flabbergasted at how ignorant people were. Just shaking my head and scratching my head at people like, how could you do this? How could you act like this? And then you realize at a certain point, well, they have no moral compass. They have no foundation, right? And I'm not going to sit here and preach God and this, that, and the third, but I will say that it gives you a foundation. Reading the Bible gave me a moral foundation. It gave me a spiritual foundation. I'm preaching the red pill here, but at the same time, I would say it's a combination of intelligence, but it's also a combination of moral training. If you have the moral training and you have the kind of brain and the kind of mind that you can think abstractly and really understand what morals really are and really understand human behavior, because the reason why I say this is because so many people don't have any idea of the difference between right and wrong. People aren't good. People aren't you know, they don't have any inner substance to anchor them, just to say, you know what, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have. They don't follow their conscience. I don't even know if people know what a conscience is anymore. Right? The difference between right and wrong, that little voice in your heart that says, oh, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't steal. You shouldn't treat this person that way. You know? When I was growing up, I was told to follow my conscience. You know, when I was growing up, I was taught by my mom and by, you know, Bible, you know, the Bible and people who read the Bible, to follow your conscience, and your conscience is what deciphers right from wrong. I don't think people have a conscience anymore. I don't think people really, because how could you when you're selfish? How could you when you're living selfishly? You know, how could you when you don't believe in God? How could you when you don't believe there's such a thing as right or wrong? All you become animalistic. You know, you behave and act like an animal. What does an animal do? An animal is in survival mode at all times. An animal doesn't give a crap about right and wrong. An animal is just trying to survive, and an animal is trying to take care of themselves, right? Well, it's not to say that you should sacrifice yourself for or your safety or your survival for righteousness' sake, per se. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, why are people not living on a higher plane? Why are people in fight or flight mode? Why are people in survival mode? Because this whole system is evil. Because they have to work, or it'll be the street, because they're under slavery. Because they don't have any moral foundation. Because they don't believe in God. Because when they were in middle school or whatever, they were taught that we come from monkeys, that we come from animals, that we're all just animals. And what does that do? Well, if I'm just an animal, I might as well go have sex, because animals go have sex. If I'm just an animal, I might as well do this or that. If there is no God, if it all comes from a big bang, then nothing really matters, and I can be a jerk and laugh at you, haha, because it doesn't matter. I can screw you over and laugh about it, haha, because it doesn't matter. Or you know, I could. It's like people don't know they have a conscience, you know? And it's like your conscience is a little bit more than just feeling bad about something. You know, oh, I just feel bad about this thing. Right? I mean, that's part of your conscience. But people probably don't even know that feeling bad about something. Oh, I probably shouldn't be doing this, or you know, this or that, right? That is, you know, that's something within you that's higher than the animals. Animals don't do that, right? Animals don't decipher between right and wrong. They just, you know, can I eat this thing? Can I have sex with this thing? Will this thing help me procreate? Will this thing, you know, further my species? Will this thing, you know, help me survive? Can I eat it, right? And if it doesn't fulfill one of those functions, then they won't even mess with it. They don't care. An animal really, for the most part, doesn't care. You know, I think animals can love. I really do. I think animals can love, but the animal doesn't have any conscience, really, for the most part. It's really just about survival. And if it loves, it's probably loving on a survival basis. You know? But humans are different. We have the capacity to love in a deep way. We have the capacity to love in a selfless way. We have the capacity to help somebody when it doesn't benefit us at all. We have wonderful capacities. But I look outside and I see a world that is really just bereft of any of that. bereft. I mean, it's there a little bit. You see glimpses of it every once in a while. Somebody will do this selfless thing. Somebody will do this wonderful thing. Of course, a lot of times it's just for the show, right? It's just for TV. It's just for the ratings. It's just, make yourself feel better. You're donating to charity so you can act like you're superior. You're donating to charity because the Bible has this verse that says, when you give alms to the poor, when you help the poor, don't be like the hypocrites who ring bells in the street to let everyone know they're doing something great for the poor. Like, don't be like that. But when you give to the poor, when you help, do so in secret. Right? What does that mean? That means that you're not doing something to pump up your reputation. You're not doing something so that people can, say you're great. You're not doing something for the praise that you get by doing that thing. You're doing it because you really care. You're doing it because you really want to help. And when you do things like that, you don't need to tell anybody because your motive is right. But where is that kind of behavior in this world? Does that exist? Where are the people like that? Where are the good people like that? What happened to that? What happened to that kind of heart in people? Just helping just because. Just doing something great just because. Or doing something great for somebody else just because you love people, just because you're a good person, just be like, it just doesn't exist anymore. But it's so much more than that. I mean, I talk about sex because it's a lot of red pill, but it's also just your attitude, people's attitudes. They don't care about anybody but themselves. Everything's a joke. Everything is for entertainment. Everything is, there's no love anymore. Was there ever? I don't know. Maybe a lot more than there is today in this generation. And some say the evil is being intensified. Some say the evil is, and that's why this is the way it is, because evil is intensifying. And that may be. It seems that older generations were more loving. Maybe people could argue that. I don't know. But I know a lot of people just don't have that. They're just bereft of any conscience. They're bereft of any righteousness, right? I mean, righteousness is a big word, Wow, who wants to be righteous? Who's, in a red pill context, what girl is apologizing to a guy? What girl is not being solipsistic? What girl is not being utterly selfish? What girl is actually loving a guy in a selfless way? What girl is not wanting to be the center of attention, right? Do they even make girls like that? I don't think they do. I don't think even Christian girls are not like that. Paul said in, I think, 1 Corinthians, he said, I'd rather you not marry, because when you get married, he says this. People don't realize Paul the Apostle was not a married man. He may have been married in his earlier days, But he was not married when he was serving Christ. In 1 Corinthians, he said, I'd prefer that you be like me, not married. And he gave reasons for that. He said the reason why is because when you get married, your attention is going to be on pleasing your wife, making your wife happy. Right? What is that, man? That's almost like women are black holes, you know? Energy consumers, time consumers. If Paul was so concerned that he was concerned enough about it, that he says your time and energy is going to be spent trying to please your wife, that's something to consider, because Paul the Apostle was the leading oracle for God in arguably the number one leading oracle for God in the entire Old and New Testament. So I think he kind of knew what he was talking about, and he was well read, so he knew that God created women as a helpmeet, right? Maybe initially, but then again, we got to go to Genesis 3 and 4 and 5, when, you know, Eve took the fruit. God cursed them, right? But for some reason, man has to please his wife now. You know, how many women love selflessly? How many women really are helpmeets to their husband? Or how many women are just, you know, trying to run the show, or secretly somehow feeling like they're so special, feeling like they're the prize, right? Or even maybe not as bad as that. Maybe how many women are just leeches to their husband? How many women are just hangers on? How many women are just relying on his paycheck? How many women really aren't bringing a whole lot to the table besides maybe washing some dishes? And even that is like, you know, that is like oppression, right? Oh, your room and board is paid for. He puts food on the table and you got to wash some dishes and vacuum. Oh, you're so oppressed, right? And even that is basic. Like, what else are you doing? Like, that's not even the biblical standard. Read Proverbs. What they say in Proverbs, how the prudent wife. Read Proverbs about the prudent wife. Google that. How she rises up before the sun and works and cooks food for her family. How she's wise and prudent and, you know, thrifty and, you know, thrifty is probably not the right word, but good with money. Go read those verses in Proverbs. That's a pretty high standard. How many women come up to that standard? You got these leeches of women out here who think just because they're pretty, who think just because they give sex, that they deserve this wonderful man. That's another system of evil. The dating system. It's a systematized evil. Think about the diamond industry. Of course, we all know about blood diamonds, right? African blood diamonds. The diamond industry is a big evil, systematized evil. The whole dating relationship, it's all systematized evil. And then we have this evil culture, this hookup culture, which is evil. Tinder is so popular, right? Evil, evil, evil. Parents raising their kids just to, you know, raising their daughters, and their daughters become whores to get rich, you know? And it's just like, this is an evil culture, an evil world that we live in, man. When you see the macro view of it all, when you see it from a bird's eye view, again, this is the Matrix. You take the red pill, you go down the rabbit hole, but you don't see it all so quickly. It took Neo a whole 3 hours to get to the point where he could defeat the agents, right? 3 hours is not that long, but it's a movie, so it's subsequent time. Like, how long did it take you to realize that the whole world is evil, that the whole world is a system? It took me maybe 10, 15 years. Of course, I had all these hopes, hopes that I would do this, hopes that I would do that, and none of it all worked out. And, I got to the point where I lost my idealism, got to the point where I lost hope, in a way, for my life and to see something good. And you kind of got to get to that point. You kind of got to get to rock bottom where you lose hope. Not to say that I don't have hope at all. Not to say that there isn't ever hope for anyone or anything like that. Good things do happen. But when you hit rock bottom, and when you get to that point where you're suicidal, you get to that point where a woman has dashed your heart against the rocks. You get to that point where she's cheated on you and left you and took your kids and raked you over the coals in divorce court and all this crazy shit, this sad shit that we see happening and we talk about in the manosphere, right? When you get to that point, how many of those experiences before you have to study and learn statistics and learn what's going on out there and learn that it's a systematized evil? Now, granted, divorce is at 50%, so that's a good percentage to say, well, the glass could be half full or the glass could be half empty. It depends on how you look at it. Okay, yeah, in a positive sense, 50% of marriages might succeed. But do you want to roll those dice? Do you want to take that chance? Think about it. Well, 50% of marriages might succeed, but 50% fail. I think it was the great Bill Burr who, in one of his stand-up specials, said, if you had a 50% chance of your parachute not opening during a skydive, would you go skydiving? No, you wouldn't. And that's a great analogy because literally men are killing themselves after bad marriages. Right? Men are getting financially took for everything they got. Not just half. Don't think it's just half. In a lot of these cases, these men are losing everything because certain circumstances cause them to, your wife leaves you, you become depressed, you can't work, you get sick, you lose everything, you're homeless. Or the other way around, say you lose your job, and then your wife leaves you. It's like, add insult to injury, throw salt in your wound, right? Damn it, I lost my job, now I lost my house, and guess what else you lose when you lose your job and your house? Your woman, she leaves. She doesn't stick around, she ain't loyal, because women are not built that way. They need a man to take care of them. They seek out providers. They don't love you for who you are. They don't love you unconditionally. Lose your house, lose your money, and she's gone. Another system of evil, right? Another system of evil. Everybody's really up against the 8-ball, whether they know it or not, whether they're content or happy or whatever. I mean, this is why anxiety is so big in the world. Because they know if they lose their house and their job, whatever, their house or their wife would be gone, right? What wife is going to stick with you? When you were making $100K a year and you had this nice upper middle class house, and then you lose it all, and now you got to go live in a hotel. Is she going to live with you in that hotel, or is she going to go back and live with her parents for a while until she finds another guy with a upper middle class house? What do you think's going to happen? What do you think she's going to do? And that right there should be the only red pill any guy needs. Talk about anxiety. If you're worried that she's going to leave you because you don't have money, then you got bigger worries than just money. You got to worry that your woman doesn't really love you for who you are. And how many women out there really would? Again, this is another system of evil. These are all systematized evil, and you could say this is red pill. These are red pill truths. And what are they there for? They're there to free you from the matrix. When you follow the breadcrumbs, you get to the loaf. When you follow the little truth bombs, the little truth branches, you climb up the little truth branches, you get to the top of the tree, and then you see it from a macro viewpoint. You're like, oh shit, this is all bad. This is all evil. This is all... And people might say, well, that's glass half empty. Maybe, yes, there's exceptions. But let's say every man loses his job, right? Out of the 50% of marriages that actually succeed, every one of those men in that scenario loses his job. How many women are going to stay? I'd say less than 10%. Less than 10%, maybe even less than 5%. How many women are going to stick with their guy on the street? That's the ultimate test. We got nowhere to go. We're homeless. Are you going to still stick with me and love me, or are you going to go find someone else? I'd say less than 10%, maybe less than 5%. This is the world we live in, man. Systematized evil. It's a harsh truth, man. It's a hard pill to swallow. The red pill in its entirety is a hard pill to swallow. Many people just nibble and take little bites here and there, and yeah, that's true, to satisfy their anger. Oh, I got dumped, and and then they jump right back on the horse. I'm not suggesting quitting entirely necessarily, but at some point, whether now or when you're 90 or 70 or whatever, come to the realization that this is a messed up system. There's something seriously wrong here. And we all want this we have this happiness idea like in our mind, right? And there's a million self-help videos, Tony Robbins and Norman Vincent Peale and Dale Carnegie and etc. All these people, oh, you just got a power of positive thinking. Oh, you just got to visualize happiness, speak out what you want, write goals down, and work hard towards your goals, work smart, and do this and do that, and learn this and learn that. And hey, you know what? There's some merit there. You can improve your life. You can, to a certain extent. But again, the acid test of a relationship, the acid test of love, the acid test of everything. Your friendship, how much your family cares about you, right? Your colleagues really care about you, or do they care that you're successful? Even self-help people, Tony Robbins, etc., they talk about ditching losers, right? Leave the losers behind. Leave people behind. Now, in some cases, there are people who really genuinely do bring you down, right? There are some people who really do harm your positive energy. And those people you probably should ditch. Some people who are influencing you negatively. Some people who are, not positive to you, who are negative towards you. You might want to lose those people. But I've heard many a self-help person say, oh, if you're not hanging around successful people, then you should ditch the people who are, not millionaires, and you should only hang around with people who are better than you, and all this kind of like, where's loyalty in that? Where's love in that? Again, even the positive system are evil systems. The positive books and the positive videos and the positive self-help seminars, even that is a part of the evil system. Because it's distracting you away from the truth. It's giving you a sort of false hope in a way. And to a certain extent, there's some merit there. Like I said, there is some merit. You can improve yourself. You can get better. And like, there's some merit. But again, at the end of the day, where's the core? Where's the core humanity? Where's the core love? Where's the core conscience? Where's the core morality? Where's the core unity. Where is it? Everybody's divided. Everybody's angry against, against people who think differently, and we're all divided. And what should we be united under? Any kind of government? No. We can only have unity when we are loving each other in a righteous, non-judgmental way. And I'm not preaching that, because I don't think that's ever going to happen outside of God's kingdom coming back to the earth. I'm simply here to share my truths. That's it. This is the truth. You may not like it. The red pill, no one said the red pill was a sweet pill. It's pretty bitter. It's a bitter pill. The red pill's a bitter pill. But it's the truth. And I wouldn't advise anyone to think negatively. I wouldn't advise anyone to necessarily not see the glass as half full, because you should be positive and you should try to be happy. And being positive will help you be happy. But that doesn't mean you should be ignorant. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't realize that this is an evil world. This is a systematically evil world. And to wake up and to see and to realize and recognize all of this is have a macro viewpoint epiphany, a bird's eye view epiphany, and say, wait a minute, man, everything is evil, everything is ill-gotten, everything is damaged, everything is corrupt. There's only pockets of righteousness, little small pockets of things that are correct and right, and the world is all kinds of messed up. And it's the hardest for people who are idealists. I'm a natural idealist. I was an idealist for years and years. All my I wouldn't say my childhood, but when I came of age, as far as 16, 17, until I was about in my 30s, I was an idealist, and it was hard. Because when you're an idealist, you're upset about everything. When you're an idealist, you're always under a sort of oppression, because the world is anything but ideal. It really is dog eat dog out there. It really is survival of the fittest. It really is a bunch of people living animalistically. It really is a bunch of people shitting on each other and screwing each other over and being shady towards each other and lying and cheating and hurting people. And it's just that consummated. It's just a whole big world of that going on. And again, people say, oh, that's just glass half empty. Well, it's the truth, though. Now, no, it's not everybody, but it's hard. It's like, I used to be surprised when I met somebody who was woke. I used to be surprised when I met somebody who was righteous. I used to be surprised when I met somebody, who had the same ideals as me, who was on the same level as me, who had that sentient awareness that I did. I was surprised, because I'm like, all I meet are dumbasses. All I meet are evil people. All I meet are immoral people. All I meet are ignorant people, low IQ people who just wouldn't know right from wrong at all ever, right? And so I meet somebody who's woke. I meet somebody who really knows what righteousness is, what the difference between right and wrong, and I would just be surprised. It's still somewhat surprising, to me today when I meet somebody like that, because it just doesn't happen. It's not common. I mean, they're out there, but there's few and far between, man. People aren't raised right. People aren't. You wonder why, But then, you kind of also don't wonder why. It's like, the world's evil. They're busy trying to survive. They don't have time to sit around and think about the difference between right and wrong. They're just trying to, live. But on the other hand, they're hurting people. On the other hand, they're being shady. On the other hand, they're doing shady stuff. And it's like, you have no self-realization. There's a difference between doing something wrong and knowing you're doing something wrong, and then just doing something wrong and not having any feeling about it. There's a difference there. We have a world full of people who do wrong things and don't have any feelings about it. And someone wise once said it's because they don't know God. Because they don't know God. This is why they do evil things. They don't even know righteousness is a thing. They don't even know what godliness is, or ethics even to lower the standard. Not just godliness or righteousness, but just bottom line ethics. They don't know that. They don't know what humanity is. They don't know how to be a person with a good humanity, to be a gentleman, or to be classy, or to be a lady, right? Those are things of the past. Those are antiquated. Those are outdated compared to this new age stuff where anything goes as long as it benefits you, right? As long as you're making out like a bandit, it's all good, right? When you're getting yours. Even if it's at the expense of others, especially at the expense of others. Nowadays, people like getting theirs at the expense of others. That's the preferred method now. It's almost like they have to do it that way. People don't have godliness or righteousness, let alone bottom line morals or ethics. People live animalistically, and what do animals have to have? They have to have laws. When you live on a moral plane, you are your own lawmaker in a way, because you don't need laws to tell you right from wrong, because you already know right from wrong in your own heart, in your own conscience. When you live in a godly plane, you just spontaneously will not commit evil. You spontaneously will know the difference between right and wrong. The Bible says God writes his laws in our heart and on our mind and in our conscience, so that we know them intimately. We know them on an intrinsic level. What I'm doing is wrong. I can sense it. I don't have to have a law book or to go Google the local legislation in my state to know that what I'm doing is wrong, to know that I shouldn't be, screwing this person over, and know I shouldn't be lying to this person, to know I shouldn't be this is how people think. They think, oh, well, it's not illegal, therefore I can do it. It's not in the local legislation of my county or my state, therefore I can do it. No, when you have a godly, moralistic, righteous, godly, ethical, godly, righteous, moral foundation, motivation, then you don't need laws, because you're not going to do that thing. You're not going to hurt somebody. You're not going to do this. You're not, right? This is what's missing. This is why the world's getting so evil. This is why people are harming so, because they've ignored and turned their back on God. They've ignored and turned their back on righteousness. They're living for self. That is another system of evil. That is another, evil systematized foundation. The self. The self is God, right? In the Satanist camp, they say, do as thou wilt, this shall be the whole of the law. Basically, do what you want, right? Who cares about anyone else? Yeah, it says don't harm others, but you know what? Nah, they do. Trickery of the devil, the lies of the devil. They try to make Satan as if he's good or whatever. What a joke. But this is what we live in. This is the cosmos. This is the world that we live in. where everybody's worshiping themselves, everybody is doing for themselves, everybody is building their own empire. But who's building God's empire? Who's building a foundation of righteousness? Who's loving others? Who's helping others? Who's caring about others? Most people don't even care, let alone help, or let alone, you know what I mean? Most people don't even care about anyone else but themselves. Anyways, guys, just something to think about. I think I'll end it there. It's been Jay Lee with Northwest Podcast. Thanks for listening. Peace.